Alright everyone, welcome back to another Play and Explain video. Today we're covering an arbitrary Southeast Asia, which is made by my friend John Harvey Kellogg, of course. 86,213 locations in this map, and a pretty interesting distribution here. I think it is quite good. We do have a lot of Indonesia and Philippines, and it looks like Thailand and Malaysia not too far behind. So I think it should be a very challenging map, and definitely play these links before you actually hop into watching the actual bulk gameplay of the video, so you can watch me explain my guesses. I'm not really the best at this region of the world, but we're going to try our best here, and it should be a good learning experience for both you and I. So let's try our best, and I will do it. Let's hop into it here. All right, hopping into arbitrary Southeast Asia here by JHK himself, and we'll create that first challenge link for you guys. Play and Explain videos, always going to be 5 different challenge links with me explaining every guess, or at least trying my best to. All right, we start off in a very difficult round here, and we're mainly probably going to have to use the houses here to make our best guess, I would say. And it is quite difficult, I think. And I knew that this map was going to be a struggle, but it was suggested by one of the commenters, so yeah, we're going to try our best here. Okay, the first thing I notice about this round is definitely the architecture. I think these palms are a bit strange as well. But the architecture, a lot of these houses appear to have metal roofs. Like we can see a metal roof here. We have to lean in a bit. Metal roof here, a metal roof here as well, I think. And I think that would be quite atypical for a lot of the houses that you would get in Cambodia and Thailand, at least with this kind of feel, especially with the metal roof there. The red soil could point you towards Cambodia, I would say, but there are definitely other places in Southeast Asia that do have that metal roof. I also think this weird slight ridge would be a bit weird for Cambodia. And it definitely feels quite tropical. Like, we do have a decent amount of palms here. Not to say Cambodia isn't tropical, but it's definitely giving me more, like, closer to the equator vibes. And I think with the metal roofs here and the style of architecture in which we might look like we have some thatched buildings, I think Philippines makes the most sense, but, like, I'm not feeling confident at all. And region guess wise, I guess with this many coconut palm, or like we have some palms, I guess they're not really coconut palms, but with this many palms, I guess I'm straying away from Luzon here, especially with this dark color soil. I think it would be quite weird. So I think I am just going to pop a middle hedge here. We'll try our best. And okay, it's a good start. It's a really good start to get Masbate there. So a couple reasons why I clicked Masbate. You will get a lot of these rolling hills. There is also a lot of Gen 3 on this island still. And yeah, just as you can see here, a lot of rolling hills. There's a lot of disorganization, I would say, to a lot of the villages. So like just going between, like, a lot of them just don't have roads here. Like, this was taken in 2016, so quite recently. But yeah, you won't see many paved roads. There's going to be a lot of rural coverage like this. And I think the combination of the palms not feeling too tropical, like stuff that you would see in Mindanao, and the metal roofs did push me towards the Philippines, I think. And with these rolling hills in the background, I thought Masbate with the Gen 3 was a good choice. All right, let's move on to our next round here. And this one should be a much more clear-cut country. It should be Bangladesh here. We are driving on the left, as we can see. I think this car is going around this cart here. But Bangladesh, very flat country. Aside from this area here, like northeast of Chattogram, you will get interesting coverage going up in the hills, but you will get extremely flat looking farmland and Generation 4 camera, which is what we're in here. A lot of the trees on the side of bigger roads are also going to be painted some kind of white with red, or just red in general, just to, you know, keep wayward people from crashing into, you know, the trees on the side of the road, and just to highlight, hey, you're about to crash into a tree, you know. Anyway, they also grow a lot of rice here. You'll see some corn sometimes as well. But yeah, very flat country, pretty recognizable as well. And you will get a lot of these round style poles, which you could get in countries like Malaysia, but if you're ever confused between Thailand and Bangladesh, using the pole is usually a good decision because Thailand will mostly have the rectangular square poles and Bangladesh will usually have rounded ones. So we will just be clicking Dhaka here, and it was just in Dhaka region. And we will go 2 for 2 to start off. All right, next around here. We do have that square pole that I mentioned, but this one's going to be Sri Lanka. It's not actually going to be Thailand. Sri Lanka, a bit more of a drier feel. You will see a good amount of red soil as well, just random red soil here. And a lot of this like asphalt pavement. And the architecture here feels a bit more like stuff that you would see in India rather than stuff that you would see in Thailand, especially like with this painted bottom baseboard of the house. Kind of differs. And the Sri Lankan pole variant is going to be a bit thicker at the bottom, a bit thinner at the top in terms of the square pole. And then these palms found like a lot along this east coast of India, can also be found in Sri Lanka as well, but it kind of has that dry climate, closer to the equator than most of Thailand as well. And it's just going to be a bit drier than a lot of the equator stuff here in Thailand. So Sri Lanka definitely fits the bill. It's very flat, so we're probably going to go somewhere near the coast or somewhere north. A lot of stuff in the middle here is going to be extremely hilly. So I think with the red soil here, we should be pushing a bit more north. And it was all the way north. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense for sure. But we do go 3 for 3 on countries, which is always good. And we'll move into this round here, which I'm not immediately sure what I'm looking at. Actually not sure if this is Sri Lanka again. I guess it probably is here. So if you guys don't know, on Sri Lankan Gen 3 cars, the last one was Gen 4. And Gen 4 in Sri Lanka is going to be low cam. Gen 3 is just going to be normal cam. But on a lot of Sri Lankan Gen 3 cars, you will see the French flag, basically, with the blue, white, red on the front of the car. Kind of similar to something that you can see in Ghana sometimes. So Ghana and Sri Lanka will both have that blue, white, red pattern on the front of the car. But this one looks like the exposed car, so you can see a little bit of the Google like Maps logo here. And I think this should be Sri Lanka, based off of it's like the unblurred French flag. So this is usually what you won't usually be able to see this, but this is what's underneath that blue, white, red striped car that you usually see. And I think it makes sense with this architecture. Like we have a tiled roof here, one-story building, kind of similar to a lot of the architecture that you would see in like Kerala especially, and Tamil Nadu on the coast. And it does seem quite tropical. We have a good amount of coconut palms. The only other thing I was considering was something in Thailand here, but I think we do have once again, that square pole gets a little bit thicker at the bottom, and I think with this car glitch, it does make a lot of sense for Sri Lanka. This one looks a bit more tropical than the other one, so I'm thinking more south part of Sri Lanka because it gets a bit more dry as you get up to the northern portions. So let's try something in the south here. It was just middle. Okay, fair enough. Northwest of Kandy there. And we get a third Sri Lanka here. So actually, this one, you can actually see the car blur on this one. And you can see the little hint of the white and the red. You won't, I guess the blue is peeking out just ever so slightly on the left here. But yeah, just that French flag front of the car in Gen 3 is going to be Sri Lanka here. What else tells us Sri Lanka? Well, a very thin style road like this, kind of similar to a road that you would see in both Malaysia and Indonesia. But with the car, it does make it a little bit easier for us to guess this one. But yeah, Sri Lanka, especially in the middle of the country, you will see a lot of these like winding roads going through mountains. Like if I were to zoom in on a lot of these, you'll see how a lot of these yellow roads just kind of wind through wherever you can build them in the mountains. And yeah, so stuff like this. There's going to be a lot of curves and turns kind of working with the mountain as it's moving through. And a lot of good combination of palms. Like here we have a Sumatra palm, which obviously is, found a lot on Sumatra, but you can get them in Sri Lanka as well. Sri Lanka has a pretty big mix of flora in its country. And yeah, we'll just be going Sri Lanka here with the car. And this one was a bit west of Kandy there. But we get over 20k, which is a good start, I would say, to the video. That's going to wrap up seed number 1. We will start off seed number 2 now. Let me grab that link. And let's hop into our game 1. All right, this one, interesting round here. I'm not super confident on this one as well. This one's a bit tough. I'm actually between two kind of different places that I wouldn't have expected to be between, but I think with the poll here, I will be going one country over the other. All right, let me explain my thought process here. We have a big rice field. It's extremely flat. And it doesn't really fit Bangladesh, does it? We can see a pretty decently sized ridge in the back here, pretty far away. And I think in Bangladesh, most of the time, you would see some sort of car meta, especially in Gen 3. A lot of Bangladesh is in Gen 4 now, so Gen 3 is also exceedingly rare in that country. It was either overwritten by Gen 4 or Crapcam that they used to cover a lot of Dhaka division. Now I'm actually not so sure. I would say typically I'm probably between two flat places in Southeast Asia here, which is going to be like this part of Malaysia. And they do grow a decent amount of rice here. I would expect to see like some random hills because like if you look at Kedah, you'll just get some random ridges just like scattered throughout. Stuff like this. You can see some stuff here, like just random mount here with nothing else around, just random big hills like this here. And then I'm also between like the Philippines here, somewhere in like Luzon probably is probably the most likely with this flatness, because this valley here gets quite flat, and this valley here gets quite flat as well. I am thinking probably this valley. It makes sense with the rice production, I think. And I think with this pole being wooden, and just a random wooden pole holding up some electrical wires, I think it's more likely to be the Philippines. I feel like in Malaysia, you probably, especially here, you typically wouldn't see a wooden pole holding up an electrical wire like that. And I think with this massive ridge to the east, or at least what I perceive to be a massive ridge, I think it makes more sense for this valley to just be looking at this ridge here. Because yeah, you have mountains on both sides, but it is quite flat otherwise in this middle portion. Why is it not Thailand? Well, there's a couple reasons why. It definitely feels like it could be Thailand, certainly. But once again, I do think this wooden pole is a little bit weird. And I think it's weird to get a ridge that looks like it's this long. Anywhere in Thailand that kind of produces rice like this, and it's so flat. I feel like in Thailand, except for like out here, I guess, but I feel like I can't think of anywhere with a ridge east that's going to look like this. So I really am between Luzon and this area of Kedah and Penang. I guess we'll see if I'm right. Okay, it is here, and yeah, we are looking at the ridge there. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. It was very flat. Gen 3 was a bit weird, but certainly makes some sense. All right, so we are on a 6 streak here, and we move on to the Philippines. I think this one is probably easier Philippines to get. We do have a concrete segmented road, which in Southeast Asia is quite common in both the Philippines and Thailand. We know we're in the Philippines, though, because we are driving on the right of the road. Thailand likes to drive on the left. And, you know, very Filipino looking language here. It looks like maybe Tagalog. But yeah, Philippines also uses these cinder blocks on the bottom of a lot of light posts, especially. And I feel like this pole in Thailand would probably be square if it was Thailand. But yeah, we are driving right here. Out of all the Southeast Asia countries, Philippines and Cambodia, let's see, what's in this map? There's only 750 Laos locations. Laos does drive right. Cambodia only has 7,500, and the Philippines has 16,500. Those are the only 3 countries in the Southeast Asia map that drives right. We can clearly see we're driving right, so puts us between these 3 countries. And also the Philippines is the only one with Gen 4, which is what this camera is. So a lot of things really put us in the Philippines here. In terms of region guessing, though, it seems a little bit dry. So I think somewhere around Manila does make a lot of sense. Yeah, and it was around Manila. I would have expected to see a bit more coconut palms if we were further south in the country. Not the most reliable meta, but when we don't have really anything to work off of, I think it makes a lot of sense. All right. Here we move into what appears to be Indonesia. We do have a 3-segment section on the license plate here with 3 distinct white sections. Malaysia will usually have 2 distinct white sections with a black background. Indonesia is going to have 3 distinct white sections with a black background. It's kind of an atypical Indonesia, though. Very red soil. My first thought was something like Batam Islands or something along those lines. Bangka, maybe, is also possible. I think with red soil, it's always good to consider these islands as a possibility. And it definitely feels quite jungly, but for some reason feels quite developed as well. Like, this is a pretty big plot of land for a cemetery, and the rest of this is just jungly. So like, maybe they're just recently constructing something. I don't know. Let me know if that makes sense to you guys. But yeah, I think I'm just gonna try Batam here. It should be Indonesia with the 3 segmented plates. It was Belitung. Okay, I mean, I did circle all of these islands. It was a consideration. Certainly makes a lot of sense. Okay, we move into Malaysia here now. Malaysia is going to have a lot of these style of, like, housing estates, I guess. Not necessarily cookie cutter houses like you will see in the US. Some of them do definitely vary in terms of how they look, but a lot of them will just share fences like this. Kind of similar to stuff that you would see in Hungary, where you pretty much just get a continuous fence moving on along down the street. You will get that in Malaysia a lot as well. A lot of columns are used in this country as well. You will see a lot in Indonesia, but Malaysia, I think, makes a lot of sense. And then this lamp extender here with the fan, I guess it's not really a fan. I don't know what to call it. There's like a little bit of an extra chunk here on the lamp extender. At least to my knowledge, this should be a Borneo thing, unless I'm mixing it up with the... I might be mixing it up with the mainland one. I mean, it looks more mainland. I'm actually not sure now. But I know that this kind of lamp extender you will see quite commonly in Malaysia. Doesn't appear to we have a black sticker, so I guess I'm just going Kuching. And it was Miri. Okay, so maybe it is a Borneo lamp extender. It should be. Or at least I think it is. And we're moving to round 5 here. All right. This one should be pretty easy to explain. We are driving right, we can tell by the motorbike and this car in front of us. And we also have a traffic sign here. Yellow center line, which is quite indicative. I mean, Philippines will use it sometimes, but not to this shade of yellow, I guess. But driving right, like I mentioned, the only countries that drive right in Southeast Asia are Cambodia, Laos, and the Philippines. And Cambodia is the only one with crap cam like this. So it will be Cambodia here. And that's a pretty straightforward one. We don't have any polls for me to explain, so yeah, let's just send it in. It's all the way up here. We are on a 10 streak, though, which is quite good. And we'll move on to another NMPZ game here. And let's do it. All right. Once again, we do have that concrete segmented road that I've talked about that is quite common in both Thailand and the Philippines. But with this metal pole here, kind of similar to like an octagonal pole that you will get in Mexico, except this one is metal. This one should be found in the Philippines. And metal poles usually, like this, silver metal poles, usually a good indication that you are in the Philippines. Indonesia does occasionally like to use metal poles as well, but they're usually either be black or like some form of like brownish, like you will get the brownish variant one in like Kalimantan and Sula and stuff like that. But yeah, this gray one definitely does fit a lot for the Philippines. We do have that segmented road, of course. Being quite hilly up in the mountains here, I automatically consider this area here because you will get a high amount of pretty decent amount of coverage. Like every one of these yellow roads should have coverage. And it does look like we're quite high up in altitude, so you either consider here or somewhere in the mountains in Mindanao. And I think this probably fits the bill best. Pretty good quality roads as well, which makes a lot of sense for the mountain province here. Yeah, it is the mountain province, and it is this white road going off the yellow road, which makes sense as to why it was Gen 3 and not Gen 4. I would expect most of the yellow roads to be Gen 4 now, probably. All right, we move into this round here, immediately thinking Indonesia, I think. With the tiled roofs, language definitely looks Indonesian or Malaysian, but I definitely think more Indonesia here. It's hard to get a rural round like this, I think, in Malaysia. I think Malaysia is a bit more of a built-up country, and you won't get just smaller villages, I think. I guess you will get smaller villages, but not to like the degree in which the architecture is exceedingly different. Like there's a bit more of a, I don't know, modern influence here, whereas in Indonesia, not so modern in terms of their houses, like brick houses with tiled roofs. Now, automatically with the tiled roofs and the thin road, you should probably lean more Indonesia anyway. Thin road makes a lot of sense too. Tiled roofs here, I'm kind of getting mixed vibes. It definitely feels most Lampung to me, I think. It certainly could be Java. Like the general rule of thumb is to go Java when you usually get tiled roofs. But something feels a little bit off. The soil is like a little bit tinted red, which I think does fit a little bit for Lampung. And it feels a bit more not built up, as a lot of, you know, stuff in Central or East Java would feel. Java being probably, I think it is like pretty clearly the most wealthy island because, you know, you have Surabaya, you have Jakarta, if you don't count Bali, of course. But yeah, a little bit, I don't know, more impoverished with this village here. I think I'm just going to try Lampung. It was just Jakarta province. All right, fair enough. I guess the general rule of thumb with the metal or with the tiled roofs didn't fail there. And we should have just went Java. All right, here we go into another round. We have the concrete road segmented once again. We have that water to our right here. It's a little odd. I'm a little bit concerned that this could be Laos. It's hard to tell which side of the road we're really driving on here because it is such a thin road and it looks like we're just in the middle of the road. And I want to say that there's a river to our east. Even though there's a house here, it feels like there's water back here because I can't see anything else. So I guess you could consider this area. Maybe, possibly. And it's just we're on the Mekong somewhere. The soil is a bit more red, which I would associate a bit more with the Vientiane area, although you can get quite red soil in a lot of eastern Thailand, and especially in like Kanchanaburi and stuff like that. But also this road being Gen 3, Laos obviously only has Gen 3 coverage, so it's really difficult to say. I think it's pretty easy to get the region here, because these houses don't really feel Filipino, with like the wood usage. Yeah, I think I'm going Laos here. With all the things that I considered, like the Gen 3, the possible river being to the east. Obviously, we could be on the Mekong somewhere on the Thai border here with Laos. But I don't know. Let's try it. Okay, it was just Thailand tough. And that was no river. Why did I think it was a river? I don't know. You guys can maybe see the vision. Anyway. Yeah, Thailand makes a lot of sense. I think I risked it by going for Laos. If we were playing no move, it's quite easy to get because we do have a Thai pole right in our face. I guess Vientiane does use this style of pole as well. But there goes our 12 streak. But it's a pretty decent region guess nonetheless. This round... Okay. This round's stumping me a bit. I'd say. Because I think with the what I perceive to look like a rubber tree plantation here, usually lean more Thailand, but most of the time I would expect this road to be concrete and segmented in blocks. And this pole doesn't feel very Thai, right? With like Thai will have those insulators on the top of the pole, but it doesn't look square to me, this pole. And I feel like these supports are quite weird. Like it feels more like an Indonesian pole. I think it could plausibly be Indonesia. Like the soil is pretty dark brown. And with the rubber tree plantation, like, can it just be Indonesia? Like this looks, I guess you could get this advertisement in Thailand as well. But I feel like they're a bit more common in Indonesia. Like I feel like you wouldn't really get this on a random tree in Thailand, maybe. It could be waffle. Who knows? But I think with this pole, especially with these supports, I feel like are a bit weird for Thailand. Like Thailand, the rectangular poles, as you've seen, will usually just have the wires running down the side here, and some won't even have insulators at the top. So I think, yeah, with that, let's just go Indonesia. It is just Thailand there. Okay. I don't know. I thought this pole was a bit weird, but it is just a square pole. Huh. I don't know why it looks so weird from where I was looking at it. It just looked like this extender. So, you guys see how the Thailand extenders, like, they're way skinnier, I guess? Like, they're making a much smaller triangle on the top of the pole. Whereas this one was making, like, more of a, like, a symmetrical pole top that I would expect to see a bit more in Indonesia. Like, with a much bigger triangle. I think that's why I was a bit confused. Like, I don't know. I thought Thailand initially. I just thought the pole was throwing me off a little bit. Yeah. Here's the advertisement. Yeah. Fair enough. I mean, I think if I'm playing 3 seconds, like I do just get Thailand here. But I think this pole gaslit me into thinking it was something else. But fair enough. All right. We move into this round, which looks like a pretty easy Singapore. We do have a mixture of, well, mostly English, actually. And Singapore English is one of the official languages. Style of play kind of looks like the Malaysian one as well. But, like, look how affluent this country looks. You just have extravagant apartment buildings, very nice highways and roads. And I think everything just fits for Singapore, especially with most of the businesses being in English as well. You would expect to see some kind of Malaysian or Chinese even in Kuala Lumpur, where you could get big buildings like this. So I think Singapore makes the most sense. And it is just Singapore there. And a little bit of a hiccup there, but we move on. And we'll hop into our penultimate seed here. This is quite a long video so far, but I've been yapping up a storm. We'll try our best to keep it a little bit short for this one. All right, big 2-lane highway. This style stick bollard here, which looks like an Australian one with double reflectors, essentially. Quite common in Malaysia. And it does appear to, we're driving left here. These cars coming towards us, that car going away from us. And this traffic sign is queued up for left-hand drive. And, you know, you will just get nice roads like this in Malaysia. But what's really pushing me over the top from Malaysia is going to be this bollard. I don't think you would get this bollard anywhere else in Southeast Asia. So, drop it in. Probably could have lined up a road, but it's fine. Does end up being Kuantan there. Okay, looks like we're growing sugarcane here, probably. Appears to be the crop of choice. I think we do have a metal pole here at the end of the road. Back beyond the sugarcane. The house definitely fits for the Philippines as well, so I'm leaning most Philippines here with the metal pole plus the sugarcane. Metal pole's super good meta, like I mentioned, like the silver style of metal pole. Very good meta. And I think Negros makes the most sense given the sugarcane production that we're looking at. So I think we will just slam it in Negros here. Negros and like parts of Mindanao are two most likely places to have sugarcane like this. I guess you can get it in southern Luzon as well, I do believe. But usually I feel like the best guess is probably just going Negros, and it does end up being Negros there. So knowing a little bit of crops is definitely useful. All right, very thin road here. We have a different style of metal pole here, I'd say. But like I mentioned, we do have these columns. I feel like these columns would be quite odd to find in the Philippines. And I think the thin road probably fits best for Indonesia. Yeah, especially like with this little wall embankment here. Also quite common in Indonesia. I don't think you really get it in a lot of the other Southeast Asian countries. Probably a good meta to look out for. It works for me, at least. And I think Java probably makes the most sense here, right? It's quite green, quite flat. Maybe a tiled roof here on this building, although it is hard to see. And it feels jungly, but this is a quite nice road. I feel like Java makes a lot of sense to me here. It could be like maybe Lombok even or something like that, but I think I will just try Java on this one. And it was just Java, nice. And we'll move on to our second to last round in... What is this? What is this pole right there? Nope, that's just a coconut. Is this... It is just a coconut tree, right? Or is that a pole? I don't know. I guess with this oil palm plantation, like your initial thought is probably Indonesia. I think with this house as well, it makes a lot of sense. Like we do have a metal roof here, which I have used as meta for the Philippines, but I think Indonesia makes the most sense. Sandy road, a lot of oil palm plantations, just kind of a disorganized feel, like I said, to like a bunch of the smaller villages that you will get in Indonesia as compared to Malaysia, where houses are like quite spread out like this, and not as much infrastructure, I feel like, in the poorer parts of Indonesia compared to most of Malaysia. Yeah, I think Indonesia probably makes the most sense, and with the oil palms, you probably will be going Jambi or Riau. So let's try that, and it was Riau. I'll move on to our last location, which initially made me think Malaysia here, I think. Okay. Let's explain why, I guess. It's not Bangladesh, right? Like somewhere Bangladesh in the hills. I don't think so. It looks a bit more south than that with some of the plants. Especially this plant looks weird for Bangladesh, maybe. I don't know. I briefly considered it, though. Okay, Thailand will probably have a yellow center line here. Well, I mean, not probably. It will have a yellow center line here if there is a center line. This looks like a white center line. And this road is extremely good quality. We also have a, like, rounded pole here. I feel like in Indonesia, we would get, like, crossbar with insulators at the top, usually, and rounded poles a bit more, like, common, like this kind of style in Malaysia. So I think Malaysia does make the most sense here, given everything. Why do I think it's not Philippines? Well, I would expect this to usually be a metal pole. This pole looks concrete, I think. Poles are very useful in Southeast Asia. Yeah, I think Malaysia is probably the best, although it does look a little bit atypical. It's not low cam, so it's not Sri Lanka. Cambodia and Laos both don't have Gen 4. Obviously Singapore, it's just way too hilly, way too jungly for that. Thailand we've ruled out already. So that leaves us with Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Bangladesh. Yeah, Philippines, I would expect a metal pole here. So we're between Malaysia, Indonesia, Bangladesh. I guess it could still be Indonesia, but like I said, I would expect to see a crossbar with insulators here. That kind of leaves us between Bangladesh and Malaysia, and I think it just is much more likely to be Malaysia, and it looks more like Malaysia, I guess, with these bigger hills, so we'll try it. Okay, very nice. And we're back on a 6 streak, so we missed 2 countries. We probably only should have missed 1, but it happens. And we'll move on to our last game, of the video here. Let's do it. Okay, we're gonna lose the streak here, I think. I don't know if there's really too much to talk about here. Too much to teach. Because it's a bit hard. We have Gen 3 here. Bunch of banana plants growing. An interesting, like, not paved road, but it looks like it's in decent quality. Is it paved? Might be paved. I don't think it's paved, actually. Huh. For some reason, my first thought here was Sri Lanka, but I can't explain why. I think this is a very difficult round, and I would expect a lot of players to miss this. And I don't know if I can give a definitive reason for why I'm going any country over another country on this one. Like, we obviously know it's not something like Laos or Cambodia. It's just too green. We wouldn't get really coconut palms like this or this kind of coverage in those two countries. We know it's not Singapore because it's too hilly and it's a bit too rural for Singapore coverage. So that leaves us with Bangladesh. Like I mentioned, not a lot of coverage in the hills. And in Gen 3, there's especially not a lot of coverage in the hills. Like, most of the new hilly coverage northeast of Chattogram was covered by, like, Gen 4. So ruling out Bangladesh, Cambodia, Laos, Singapore here. So that leaves us with Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Sri Lanka, Thailand. I don't know. It feels a bit too green and tropical to me for it to be Thailand. I just feel like this weird road, it feels a bit weird for Thailand. I mean, it could be Peninsula, of course. Like, that's always a possibility. Philippines is always in there. We got coconut palms. We got banana plants, which would fit. And Malaysia and Indonesia are certainly in there as well. But for some reason, I want to go Sri Lanka. This is probably going to be wrong. But we're going to try it anyway. Like, a very thin road going through the mountains like this. I'm going to try it. It is just the Philippines. Like, I think that is the obvious choice, certainly, with the coconut palms and banana plants. We should just probably be going Philippines. Oh, it is actually a concrete road. Well, if I had known that, then that's a pretty easy Philippines, isn't it? For some reason, when I looked at it, dude, I thought this was just like sand or something. But I guess the way that the grass is like crawling over onto the concrete road, that should just make it pretty clear that it's paved, shouldn't it? Yeah. Okay, that's tough. I mean, now definitively we know why that it's the Philippines, because we have a concrete road here, plus banana plants and the palm tree spam. So that's a bit of a mishap for me, but it definitely does happen. All right, Thailand here, it looks like yellow center line. So we have a 2-lane highway with like this divided, like, it's not a shoulder, but divided thing in the middle here. I think Thailand makes the most sense. Poles in the distance, you would say, are probably square. But yeah, you do have these bollards here, which are usually painted like white, black, white striped, which you will get a lot in Thailand as well. And it feels like very flat. We're growing a lot of rice. So I think with all of those things, Thailand makes the most sense. Now I have to think about which... We're going southeast here? Could be something here. This angle doesn't really work, does it? I don't know. I guess we just try something. Let's try this. It's a white road. That is very surprising. And you learn something new every day. But that does make sense with the pretty big ridge that we could see to our east. And I assume if we turn around, we're going to see another big one to our west. Yeah. Makes sense that we're in some kind of valley there. But fair enough. All right. We'll move on. Into Bangladesh, we have Bengali here on the tuk-tuk. And once again, very flat metal roofs. A lot of these, like, Assam palms. And we're just growing a lot of rice here. Oh, this pole is also quite common in Bangladesh. Like, this pole that kind of reminds me of an Ontario pole with, like, diagonal insulators on the right and left side, and then one on the top. But yeah, we do have those rounded poles, like I mentioned, so I think Bangladesh works the best. And it is Maiman Singh there. Move on to our penultimate round, in which I don't expect to get this one right, really. And I don't really know if there's much to explain for you guys here. We have a lot of bamboo, which is interesting. Some kind of bamboo forest here. It's a very thin road. And I think Indo makes the most sense. Am I even going like Bali here, maybe? Like, for some reason, just based off of what I can see, it's giving me a touristy vibe. It could just be Java as well, but I don't know. I don't think there's much to explain here because we don't have meta. Or like anything that I'm basing this guess off of besides I feel like I've seen rounds that look like this in Indonesia, so I'm going to click Indonesia. And it was just the Philippines. So, fair enough. Random bamboo forest here. Yeah, fairs. I don't know. I don't think there's really... I mean, if we're playing no move here, we do have this exposed front of car. It looks white, which, like, white exposed front you will never get in Indonesia, so that's a good meta. And then this last one should be easy. I mean, we have the black sticker on the pole, this rounded pole where it gets thicker at the bottom, thinner at the top, kind of similar to like a Czechia-Slovakia pole. But yeah, you do have that black sticker on the pole, so we should be in Malaysia here. And this flatness, I am going to click Terengganu or something like that. And we were a bit more up. But why did I go Terengganu here? Quite flat, a lot of coconut palm spam. I think if you learn how to guess between the east and west coast of Malaysia, it could be potential for a lot of points. I think east is a bit more like populated, I guess, so you won't get as many rural rounds like this. But yeah, a lot of coconut palm spam. It usually is quite sandy, I'd say, as well. Like sometimes red soil, but yeah, just kind of this sandiness to the location. So all of those things pointed me in Malaysia's direction. All right, well, that's going to be it for the video, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. And don't forget to drop some feedback, drop a comment down below. And let me know how you guys did on the seeds. That's going to wrap it up for me, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, of course. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for another GeoGuessr video. Peace.